It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls. 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. You can email us at randywangradio@gmail.com. That's randywangradio@gmail.com. I try to respond to every email that I get. You can also give us a subscribe on YouTube at Randy Wang Radio and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Today, we go to Koreatown, where a standoff is starting to get a little out of hand. We have told you before how, thanks to recent changes in state and local laws, landlords in buildings in places like Koreatown that have parking spaces are being incentivized to get rid of those parking spaces for tenants and convert that space into accessory dwelling units, ADUs. Now, as somebody that used to live in a small studio apartment that had a parking space in an old building, I am trying to imagine how exactly it is you build housing in that parking space, because those parking spaces aren't very big. Maybe you got to double up or triple up, but it sure doesn't seem like the most comfortable lodgings. Plus, you are openly pissing off every single person that lives there that has a lease that says they're paying to have a parking space. Because if you live in a place like Koreatown or anywhere near Hollywood, if you don't have parking, good luck getting around. Good luck trying to find a space, because there's not a lot of street parking, and now you just made the competition for those spaces even worse. So let's get into this story, because I'm trying to figure out, and sometimes we do this, who is the true a-hole of the story? Because on one side, you have the landlord that today actually brought tow trucks to tow the vehicles of the tenants. But you also have the tenants who are saying that it is their right to have this parking and refusing to move. And they've even set up protests, and they're sitting there all day, and they've invited the news, and they're like, we're not leaving these spaces, which, do they have jobs? Or is the true villain of the story our state and local government, who have changed the laws to incentivize this kind of nonsense in the race to build more affordable housing? We are going to make existing housing less attractive. Let's find out what's going on here. To the story we go, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
This afternoon, it is a showdown between residents at an apartment building and a property owner who wants to turn parking spaces into small additional housing units.
All the cars have already been towed out.
How small could these units be, and what are they going to charge for them? Because what we've seen when we're talking about ADU apartments in the backyard of San Diego homes, those are going for like $2,000 or $3,000 units.
All the cars have already been towed out. Eyewitness News reporter Jory Rand is live in Koreatown with the very latest on this. Jory?
Yeah, guys, this part of Koreatown is notorious for being difficult to park in. In fact, some of the residents we spoke with today say they chose to live here specifically because they had a parking spot. We should say they previously had a parking spot. Today, the owner had their cars towed out. He plans to turn this space where the cars were parked into additional units, and these residents are standing guard to try and prevent any construction from taking place.
You imagine you sign a lease because you know that, hey, this is a building that has parking, and they take it away from you? Yeah, I'm having a hard time going after the tenants in this story.
I can't move. You're blocking me. Stop blocking me. Look.
Confrontation outside a Koreatown apartment building where this morning the building's owner had residents' cars towed from their spots in order to convert the space into housing.
Today at 6:30 in the morning, they ambushed us. They towed all the cars. They brought a crew of 20 men to take our parking using brute force.
According to residents,
Brute force? What did they hire? Goons?
According to residents, this is the fourth time since this summer that the owner has tried to do this. He hadn't been successful until today. This has become a trend around LA to convert these tiny parking spots beneath a building into ADUs or accessory dwelling units.
And one of these buildings, where they took away the parking, was full of tenants that included a disabled veteran in a wheelchair who now has to wheel himself around the block to get to his car.
The owner
This fantasy that you can get around Los Angeles without a car is exactly what it is. A fantasy. Some people do it, but it is very, very difficult. But I guess because some people have to do it because they cannot afford a car, that's equity. We should all have to suffer. Look, as much as they have built out LA Metro in the last decade, it still doesn't really go anywhere.
The owner plans to put 5 of them in.
There's still quite a distance you have to travel to just to get to the Metro, on top of the fact that it's not safe.
The owner plans to put 5 of them in here. The main problem is that these residents were assigned their spots in their lease.
Their response was, we put a notice on your door. Well, that notice on the door doesn't change my lease. So this is still lease protected. They still haven't given us an adequate plan to make sure this is habitable.
Yeah, these tenants have been making quite a stink, but at what point do they lawyer up? Because if it's in the contract that you have parking and that's part of what you're paying for in your rent, are they going to compensate you for that? Because that's a big cost of what you're probably paying. I know some places, like any of the big private equity apartment buildings, they straight up add that as a fee. Oh, you want parking? Even that tandem parking? Oh, you're going to pay an extra $300 a month for that.
The owner of the building, Mark Nassab, seen in this video filming in the navy blue jacket, declined an on-camera interview, but told me we have permits. They've been approved by the city. If it was illegal, building and safety would be here to shut it down. When I brought up the...
Oh, yeah. The true villain of our story emerges. Well, I don't like the fact that the landlord is doing this. The fact that the city is incentivizing it and is okaying the plans, and the city, through the city council and the mayor's office and all of our little departments, look at a situation where you have a few parking spaces in an old apartment building that we're going to take away. We're not talking about a parking lot that's not used or underused. We're talking about parking spaces that are occupied by tenants who live and work in Koreatown who now are going to spend most of their day looking for a parking space or, I don't know, moving.
When I brought up the fact these tenants have parking spots in their lease, he said they have it in their lease, but the state allows it by just cause. We can modify the lease. When I told him his
just cause, according to the state of California, is, well, we're helping to build affordable housing, so screw you and your parking, take the bus.
When I told him his tenants are painting him as the bad guy here, he said, I know who I am. I know what I'm doing is right. So Nassab says he is offering all of these affected tenants $200 rent reductions. The tenants say,
well, that's something, but I don't know. Kind of wish if I had to make the choice between when I lived in an apartment, if I had to make the choice between $200 off my rent and when I lived in that apartment, rent was like $850. I don't know how people actually get by these days. I really don't. But $850 for a studio, I could make that work. But if it was down to $650, but I did not have my parking space, I wouldn't take them up on it. That neighborhood that I lived in the Valley, and the Valley's known for not much, but they have parking, was a notorious neighborhood for street sweeper tickets. Now, in the 7 years that I lived in Valley Village, I don't think I ever saw a street sweeper. But on Tuesday at 10 a.m., No matter what, rain or shine, the parking enforcement guy was there to ticket anybody who had their car on the street when it was street sweeping day. Again, never actually saw the street sweeper, but saw those street sweeper tickets all the time. And it caused me great frustration because even though I had a parking space, I was, for many years, using that apartment as a podcast studio for several people. I pretty much turned my dinky little apartment into a radio station for a couple of years. And so I had all kinds of co-hosts and guests and other shows showing up, and inevitably somebody would come before 10 a.m. on a Tuesday and get a street sweeping ticket. And that was very frustrating. And if I had to be that tenant who didn't have the parking and I was constantly getting those tickets and the street still looked like crap, I'd be pretty PO'd.
Tenants say that's not really the case. They've been offered temporary reductions, but they want to see a permanent reduction to their rent. The owner says that he is doing that. They say they don't believe.
So wait, they just want a bigger discount? Okay, I don't like them either. I don't like anybody in this story. Be one thing if you're standing on the principle that, hey, I deserve my parking, but now you're saying is, well, 200 is not enough. I want an even bigger break on my rent.
He is doing that. They say they don't believe it, and they just believe he's wanting to raise their rent in the new year. In the meantime, we've reached out to Heather Hutt's office with LA City Council to see what is going on here.
Well, that's a lost cause. Heather Hutt doesn't get talked about as much as some of the louder members of the LA City Council, but if you ever listen to Heather Hutt speak,
good Lord,
she's not the brightest. An example that I love to use is Heather Hutt when she went on Fox 11 with Alex Michelson and Marla Tejas and was asked about the fact that she was putting forth legislation that would make it illegal for stores to operate without cash because so many stores in her district were getting robbed and they didn't want to carry cash. There are notable establishments that do not carry cash, including my favorite breakfast taco place in town, Home State. When you show up there, there's a big sign that says, "We don't accept cash." And it's because for the first year they were in that Sherman Oaks location on Ventura Boulevard near Fulton, I'm a big fan, they were getting broken into all the time. They stopped taking cash. They put up a sign saying they don't have cash. Break-in stopped. But Heather Hutt needed to explain her position on why that shouldn't be allowed.
I have some figures here that say FDIC says that 7.4% of all California households are unbanked and underbanked, and 17% of them are households that are single parent unbanked. That's about a quarter of California.
No, it's not.
I have some.
Listen to that again.
I have some figures here that say FDIC says that 7.4% of all California households are unbanked and underbanked.
By the way, that's an indictment of the government right there. How hard is it to get a bank account? And if it's that hard to get a bank account, then we should do something about that.
And 17% of them are households that are single parent unbanked. That's about a quarter of California.
No. That was 17% of the 7%. But what do we expect? Somebody that's making $220,000 a year to do math? Regardless, whenever I think of Heather Hutt, I think of that clip.
In the new year. In the meantime, we've reached out to Heather Hutt's office with LA City Council to see what is going on here, if this has indeed been approved and what these tenants are left to do now that they've been promised parking and had it taken away. We have yet to hear back. Reporting live in Koreatown, Jory Rand, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
So there's the story. There is the standoff. There are three main characters to this play. There are the tenants who signed leases saying that they had assigned parking spaces in their apartment building. Their parking spaces are being taken away. They have decided the best way to deal with this is to grandstand and set up protests in the parking spaces and try to physically be dragged out and then demand bigger rent reductions than they're getting. Then you have the landlord themselves who has decided that even though he has tenants that like the fact that they can park in the neighborhood that they're renting from, and that's part of the reason they probably moved to that building. They would like to cash in on affordable housing and take away those parking spaces from the tenants and turn them into ADUs. I can't imagine how small they'd be. What, 200 square foot bachelor pads, sleeping pods? But yes, I'm sure there's all kinds of incentives, and that's where we get to the third character of our story. Is the biggest a-hole in this story are local and state governments that have decided this is the kind of crap we're going to incentivize. We're going to make it so the landlord has a big financial incentive, and we could argue a moral incentive, because we're trying to solve the housing crisis by making life a living hell for the people that are currently living there so we can build some slums. There is the story. You've seen the cast of characters. Now's your time to weigh in and tell me who's at fault here and who is the true a-hole in this story. Is it the tenants? Is it the landlord? You could argue the landlord should be able to do whatever they want with their property. Or is it our local government for the incentives that they are giving to take away existing parking spaces from a small apartment building? 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. You have probably at some point in your life driven around endlessly in Hollywood or Koreatown for parking. So you've got an opinion on this, and you're going to give me a call right now. 800-222-5222. 1-800-222-5222. Who do you blame for this mess? The landlord, the tenants, or our local and state government? 800-222-5222. 1-800-222-5222. Let's start with Joseph in Torrance. Joseph, hello.
Hello. Well, the true victims are the neighborhoods, because any apartment complex, there's never enough parking. Now you're taking it away for ADUs. That truly destroys the neighborhood, makes it hard for anyone to drive and park in those neighborhoods. With the dense parking, it's really hard to see pedestrians popping out. And see, the true a-hole, would that be assembly? Would that be our state assembly? Or is it the Senate? It's both of them.
I think it would be both of them. I think the legislature is equal parts a-hole, because you have people on both sides. Buffy Wicks in the assembly, Scott Wiener in the state Senate, that have advocated for stuff like this. But they're just the big names that we know. The majority of them advocate for nonsense like this, and the city council advocates for nonsense like this, because I'm sure once they build all those ADUs, they can reassess that building and charge more property taxes.
Exactly. It's going to every neighborhood.
And then everyone that lives in that neighborhood, it is making it even more difficult to live there, because this fantasy that you can live in a place like LA without a car, it does not exist.
No, it doesn't. And no one's riding the buses. They're always empty.
You know, it would be an interesting thought experiment. We should try just for one day. We'll never get the local electeds to, agree to this. But I would love to see a day without a bus. And we take all the buses out of commission and see how much faster traffic flows. And to that, you say, well, what do we do about all the people that need that? Well, for them, we're going to give them a $50 Uber or Lyft gift card for the day. And let's just see how much quicker traffic flows. Because let me just tell you, as somebody that is on the streets of Los Angeles every single day, buses slow down traffic way more than people say they do.
Yes, they do. And, they're not in use very much. It'd be interesting to see a study done on total riders versus cost of the metro system. And I'm sure it's clearly not profitable for them to have those riders.
Well, you're totally right about that. It's not profitable at all because we are going to be voting on a ballot initiative, a $20 billion bond next year to bail out metro agencies, including LA Metro. It's interesting that you say that specifically about profitability and ridership, because we had somebody email us earlier in the day that was doing the math on this, because in San Francisco, they're considering 3 different kinds of bailout for San Francisco Muni. And somebody in Southern California did the math on how much a fare cost. And when the transit advocates say that fares only account for about 5% of the revenue that is expected at a transit agency, and the ride is $1.75, you do that math, that means every single time somebody is riding the metro and they're paying $1.75 to go wherever, it's truly costing us $35. And if it costs us $35 every time someone's getting on the bus, why don't we just give them a gift card to Uber?
That makes a lot more sense. And it'd be a lot more efficient because they'd actually get to where they're going.
That is a really good point. How many cars have to be on the road just because they're trying to get to the bus station or the train station?
Exactly. I mean, Waymo, just send people in Waymos. It's got to be a lot more cost effective.
I think you've got a great point. Thanks so much for the call, Joseph. Appreciate it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. In Koreatown, I've got quite a sad tale. A landlord is turning parking spaces into ADUs. The existing tenants are very unhappy, and they are standing in protest until they get a big old rent decrease. The city of Los Angeles facilitates this. They approve the plans and they have tax incentives and all kinds of great things for the landlord if they build affordable housing on their property. Who's to blame for this mess? Who's the a-hole in this story? Is it the landlord? Is it the tenants? Or is it your local government? 800-222-5222. 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay right there. We're getting to your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go to Darren in Sherman Oaks. Darren, hello.
Hey, how are you? Hey, I live in Sherman Oaks on. I'm good. I live in Sherman Oaks on Weddington between Sunny Slope and Fulton. It's about 1,000-yard stretch, not a single no parking sign of any kind on both sides. I just moved there. And there's a couple of neighbors that have their basketball courts, the little portable ones that hang out and park on the street. And I got a ticket in the pouring rain a couple of Thursdays ago. I've never seen a street sweeper in there in the entire time I've known the person whose house I moved into. It's an absolute scam, if you ask me.
Oh, the way that they decide where they're going to ticket, how they're going to ticket, it's a mess. But they have decided that you are a bad person for owning a car and needing to commute in Los Angeles. How dare you not take the bus? Thanks so much for the call, Darren. Appreciate it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls. 800-222-5222. 1-800-222-5222. Your emails at randywangradio@gmail.com. Give me a follow on YouTube at Randy Wang Radio and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. It seems when you do this job for a very long time, and I'm almost at 20 years in the business, it's like the same stories over and over and over again, even though you think to yourself, wait, I thought we settled that. Wait, I thought we've already talked about that. Wait, I thought we already, it's like the gondola is a perfect example of this. The gondola has been a story in and out of the news for over 10 years, and not one shovel has gotten into the ground. And another story that's like that in California is that California's plastic bag ban went into effect. And you're like, wait, I thought we did that. We did. Let's find out what happened this time. Here's ABC 10 in San Diego.
If you shop at stores like Walmart, you might have noticed they no longer have plastic bags, only brown paper bags.
No big, thick plastic bags. Turns out that loophole, well, it's finally done. We're not doing it anymore. See, if you remember back when, there used to be those flimsy, almost film-like plastic bags that, and I say flimsy, they were small, but those plastic bags, they really were able to do a lot of things. A lot of people used them for cat litter. I did that for many years. They were pretty reusable. But we couldn't have those because we were using too much plastic in California. So we decided in our infinite wisdom we were going to ban those bags at the grocery store. But the grocery stores were like, well, we're going to piss off all our customers. Not everyone wants paper. Because even though, and this is what, 2014? It's 2014. We still haven't figured out a better way to get a handle on a paper bag than to use a glue stick. And that's what's happening, is a glue stick. And the paper bag handles will inevitably rip off, even if you double bag it, because you put too much stuff in there. So the grocery stores were like, yeah, we're going to be pretty upset about this. They're not going to like this. But then the government said, well, what if you got to charge 10 cents a bag? They're like, oh, we like that. That sounds great. Those bags cost us about half a penny. So that happened. And then along the way, after the bag ban went into effect, there was another loophole written in the bill that says you can sell a plastic bag, but it has to be made of a material that is recyclable. And that's how the big, thick plastic bags became a part of our lives. And it was finally realized that, guess what? Even though the grocery stores are making out like bandits here because they're getting those, although you never did it. You know who never got into the game of the big, thick plastic bags? My Trader Joe. Trader Joe's actually, they figured out, okay, what we really want is people to buy the tote bags. And the way that you get people to buy the tote bags is you make them charming or funny or, and this is true. Do you know if you go to other cities, you can collect specific Trader Joe's bags that are just for that city? If you go to San Francisco, I know there's a Trader Joe's in Haight-Ashbury. You can get a San Francisco Trader Joe's bag. Then you could bring that back to LA. I have in my possession a Santa Fe, New Mexico Trader Joe's bag and a Dallas, Texas Trader Joe's bag. Pretty cool. And they've also got all the silly ones as well, like the sardines or the pickles or the cheese. And I will say, some of those bags, especially the really big ones, I use all the time. So Trader Joe's realized, okay, let's make these popular. And then the mini bag thing happened and that became a collector's item. But I don't want to get into that because that doesn't make any sense. Those bags are not super functional, not the way the big ones are. But they didn't play that game. You either get the paper or you just shove everything in your cart or you have the Trader Joe's tote bags. And I'm a big fan of those. I have several. But the other grocery stores for many years, they were cashing in on these big, ugly plastic bags. And let me just tell you, most people did not recycle them. I did for a time. And I was shopping at grocery stores where I didn't have any branded tote bags of them. And this is where I have severe mental illness. Can I just admit something to you? I'm going to be real honest here for a minute. This is a problem. I've overcome it, but it's a really weird problem that I had for many years. When I went to a grocery store, I would feel weird about bringing a different grocery store's tote bags in there. So if I went to Ralph's, I would be weird if I brought in my Trader Joe's bag. So I wouldn't do that, even though I have mostly Trader Joe's bags. So I'd have to have one specifically for Ralph's and one specifically for Whole Foods and one specifically for Gelson's. And I was shopping at Gelson's a lot for a while, and I didn't have any Gelson's tote bags. And so I didn't want to bring in my Trader Joe's tote bags because that's wrong, because I'm insane. And so I would keep those plastic bags in my car and I would reuse them for the sole reason of that I'm crazy and couldn't bring in a competitor's tote bag like anybody cares. I'm better now. I don't do that anymore. But I look back at one I did, and I think I've definitely got a screw loose. So I actually did save those bags for a while. I did. Not really sure why. But no one really recycled them for anything. You can't even use them for cat litter because they're too big and bulky, and good luck trying to tie one of those things together. It's just a mess. So because of all that, and because of the revelations that came out, and one things that Rob Bonta did this year that was functional is he showed that, yeah, the material that's in those bags aren't even recyclable. As in, you might put them in the blue bin, but the recycling centers in California won't do anything with them. And we used to take all the recycling to China, and they don't want it anymore. So it's a big waste. So what's happening now?
Well, it turns out that's because of a new state law that bans plastic bags, including the reusable kind. ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny He has the details on the new law set to take effect next year.
When you're at a grocery store, you may bring your own bag or pay 10 cents for a reusable plastic bag like this one. Starting next year, even these will be banned.
Plastic's easier to carry, but these bags are pretty sturdy.
I have more bags than you guys have, I think, anywhere. Just recycling.
They're like that.
Now, I will say, there is definitely an argument to all of the material that goes into these tote bags that lasts way longer than the plastic bag would have.
Just recycling.
And some of those tote bags are made of plastic.
Just recycling.
They're like backup for you?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, if I forget them.
Come January 1st, 2026, grocery stores, pharmacies, liquor stores, and convenience stores won't be able to distribute plastic bags. Stores will still offer paper bags for 10 cents, though.
Of course. That was the whole deal. The grocery stores went along with this if they could cash in.
Though those under food assistance programs will be exempt. And by 2028, these bags must be made from at least 50% recycled materials.
I don't necessarily think that those types of bags are as sturdy. So I think it's just going to be more of a pain.
Everyone at some point gave up on paper bags when they had a carton of milk fall through the bottom of them. There are some things that you can do better with paper. Grocery bags is not one of them.
So I pretty much just bring my own bags.
Unless you're putting so few items in them that you need 10 bags for what you could have done in 5 bags.
So I pretty much just bring my own bags to do my shopping.
As long as they're thick enough. You get the cheap ones, and as soon as you get halfway out of the store, they rip.
These changes are a result of Democratic State Senator Catherine Blakespear Senate Bill 1053, which was signed into law in 2024.
The plastic bags at grocery stores are just not necessary. But those single-use plastic bags, they are single-use. I mean, that's how we use them.
Blakespear.
Yeah, which was, again, if that was the point, then why were all these loopholes written into the original law? And the people got used to them for 10 years. And we're like, oh, well, we banned plastic bags, but just the ones that you can still get at Home Depot, which I don't understand that, but the regulations in this state are strange, aren't they?
Blakespear says the initial state ban on single-use plastic bags, which Californians voted into law in 2016, left a loophole.
The bag manufacturers got around that by distributing plastic bags that were double the thickness of plastic.
So we banned plastic bags, and the result was we made bags that had more plastic in them. And yes, since California's plastic bag ban, consumption of plastic in this state has skyrocketed.
And they were considered to be recyclable and reusable. But the reality is that in California, nowhere recycled them. and almost nobody was reusing them.
California Attorney General Rob Bonta launched an investigation in 2022 into major plastic bag producers and reached a settlement in October, finding their bags did not meet the state's recyclability requirements.
It would be really interesting to do a deep dive in how much of what gets recycled actually gets recycled. Like, okay, glass gets recycled. The paper gets recycled because Amazon, everything says 100% recycled paper in those boxes. But all the other stuff, like how much is actually getting recycled? And by the way, I don't know if this is true in your neighborhood, and it might be if you live in a single family neighborhood. I do a very good job of sorting my trash, but sometimes I feel like I don't need to, because every single trash day, or really the day before trash day, you have curb day, then you have trash day. But on curb day, there's always like 3 or 4 people in shopping carts who go around, and good for them. They're cashing in on those CRVs. They will go through my entire blue bin and my entire black bin and pull out every bottle and can they can. Good for them. I'm too lazy to do it.
SB 1053 was opposed by Republican senators, one of whom say reducing plastic usage in California won't solve the greater problem.
It was overkill. We are doing a great job of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and having absolutely no impact on greenhouse gases in the atmosphere.
Also, all of our reduction in emissions were zeroed out by all the wildfires.
So we're going to inconvenience consumers with regard to how they can take groceries home.
The new law will not impact these compostable plastic produce bags. Jenny He, ABC 10.
Oh, yeah. Most places have switched to those compostable produce bags because it was the funniest thing. Like, you couldn't buy a plastic bag, except you could. But in the produce section, you had all the plastic bags that you want. And some stores are opting for fairly sturdy produce bags that are compostable. And I love that compostable stuff. And I like the green bin and the little lunch pail they give me, although I wish it was larger because I have to dump it all the time. But I like that. And you can get very high quality compostable bags for that, so they don't rip and they don't tear or stink up your house. Some grocery stores, they're finally going to compostable, but they are flimsy as hell and the grapefruit goes right through it. So we still got some tinkering to do on all of this. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go to Zara in Redondo Beach. Zara, hello.
Hi. You seem to burn my toast every night here lately. This landlord and the councilwoman or whoever thinks that they can take my property and deny me work. Is this eminent domain property? I don't understand how this happens. I want you to pay to get my car out. I want you to pay for my day off work. I want you to know that I'm suing you. I'm going to walk.
There you go. That's the right attitude here, and that's how they got to stand up. Instead, they're just looking for a payout. But yeah, you're taking away their ability to work, because if you don't have a car, you're not going to work. Thanks so much for the call, Zara. Appreciate it. 790 KABC welcomes Toto to the Long Beach Amphitheater on August 14th, 2026. Tickets on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com. But right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-2222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. During the commercial break, I can't stop multitasking. I cannot sit still in a 3-minute break. So during the noon to 3 show, I'm usually editing some kind of best of or replay show that you might hear in the evening or on the weekend. And now on the 5 to 6 show, which I'm at home, I could be comfortable. I could, for a while it was doing workouts, but I'm doing that mostly in the morning. No, in my commercial breaks, I'm using my laptop to edit cooking videos, and I just posted what I made last night, and it's one of the easiest meals we do, but it is so healthy and so flavorful. And let me just tell you right now, the star of the show is, if you ever go to Trader Joe's, their spicy Mexican cauliflower rice. It's in the freezer section, and you just saute that in a saucepan for about 10 minutes on medium-high heat, and then you can either keep it as it is, you can add your own seasonings, or what I do, I add enchilada sauce. I add New Mexico red chili sauce that I get from the shed in Santa Fe, and it just makes the perfect base to put a nice lean protein on top. I did a halibut from Nordic Catch, and I have a red chili salt that I get from New Mexico. I sear that on high heat on a cast iron, 2 minutes each side. It's such a good meal. It is so flavorful. It gives us that kind of Santa Fe taste, even though it's nothing like you can get in Santa Fe, and it's super healthy. Cauliflower rice is a game changer. Tonight, it's my first time doing cauliflower rice with a chicken tikka masala. I'll report back tomorrow, but check out that video, youtube.com/@RandyWangRadio. It's the News Blitz.